This is Golf with Jay Delsing.
Hey, welcome into Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm your host, Jay. We're coming to you from the Car Shield studios, and of course, we are always presented by the Stifel Charity Classic. I have got a wonderful guest today. My longtime friend, Dick Zokol from the BC, Canada, the Great White North. Zoke, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I can't thank you enough.
Well, I can't, express how much enjoyment I have to reconnect with you. I don't know. It's been such a long time. We've been in the trenches right from college, you at UCLA, me at BYU, getting on tour. All that has transpired through then is just a lifetime of stories, some hardships, some successes, and I can't say enough of how warm I am to have you invite me on your show. Thank you so much, Jay.
Oh my God, Zoke, it's absolutely my pleasure. So Zoke, I go to UCLA, and you know we've got a good team, but no one's got a team like BYU. You guys have Bobby Clampett, you got Costello, you got Dave Tennis, you got on and on guys that we don't even know about.
Keith Clearwater, Rick Fair.
Clearwater, God, how can we forget Clear? But one of the things I love talking to my guests is, Zoke, tell us a little bit, and we're going to get into your book, Zokology. I can't wait to talk to you a little bit about that, and congratulations on that book. But tell us a little bit about why you fell in love with golf, and how did that whole thing come about?
Well, I lived across. Well, let's see. When I was probably about 12 years old, I ran into some golf clubs in the closet. They were my grandparents' type, or my father's, I guess. And we went out to a park, and me and my buddies started hitting golf balls, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then I got into school, in elementary school and high school. I played all sports. I played soccer in the wintertime and baseball and golf. I wasn't a hockey player. In Vancouver, we didn't play hockey. We played soccer because it wasn't cold enough to freeze in Vancouver. And we moved across the street from the golf course, the Marine Drive Golf Club. Is a private golf club and good golf course, and there was a history of a lot of champions. Like they've had head pro back in the 40s named Stan Leonard. He won 3 times on the PGA Tour, won the Tournament of Champions, Greensboro, and did well in the Masters. Had another pro in there that played in the Masters by winning the CPGA championship. Had an amateur champion there named Doug Roxburgh, who won 13 BC amateurs and half a dozen Canadian amateurs, but never turned pro. And there was this culture at the golf club that, there was this admiration to play, to be a competitive golfer. And I was very attracted to how people perceived them and were attracted to them. And the more I played golf and the individuality of it, I loved it. I was good at all sports, but I really got pulled to golf because it was all up to me. It was, if I played like crap, it's on me. If I played well, it's about me. So that I found to be, instead of intimidating, it was very appealing. I caddied down there. I worked as a busboy, a locker room steward, washed the toilets, that type of thing. And I really
whatever it took, Zoke.
Yeah. And then I wasn't all that good. I was okay. I was pretty good. But in my grade 12 final year in high school, I watched this guy named Jim Nelford, who was 4 years ahead of me, go down to BYU, and you'd come back every year at a significantly better player. He was one of the best amateurs to ever come out of Canada. He was a success NCAA, and won the Western Amateur and 2 Canadian amateurs. And I wanted to follow his footsteps, so I wrote Coach Tucker a letter asking to be, I want to play on your golf team. And he just went, thanks, but no thanks. Not interested in you. You're not good enough, kid. So I didn't know what a Mormon was, but I want to go to BYU.
I don't think I still do. I don't know.
And so I wanted to just follow what Jim Nelford did. So that's my grade 12 year, my final year in high school. I get paired with Nelford in the BC Amateur, and he's turning pro, just All-American his senior year. And he puts in a good word to Carl Tucker. And so this is in July 1977. And so Carl Tucker says, Nelford says some pretty good things about you. He says, we don't have any Grant Nate. I can't give you a Grant Nate, but I'll let you walk on the golf team. So I asked my dad, he said, why don't you come down to Provo, Utah? I asked my father, I said, look, the coach wants to see me, and I get to take a look at the campus. My dad throws his keys at me and says, get your ass down there. So now it's July. I haven't written the SATs yet. And I don't know how that's going to go. And Coach Tucker says, I'm going to put you in the dorm room with Bobby Clampett. I don't know who Bobby Clampett is. And I say, put me at Jethro, Ellie Mae. I'm good with either. I had no idea. So my father paid for my tuition. And Carl Tucker allowed me to walk on the team, go put me into the qualifying, and I was barely surviving. But being around that environment, like I'm rooming with this guy, he's a year younger than me, entering college. And the guy just shoots nothing but 62s and 63s every time he tees it up. And I'm just trying to keep pace. And I'm improving just because I'm in that environment with him, and I'm trying to survive. And so we go through this whole thing, and I lived with him for 3 years. Clampett turns pro his senior year, and we're ranked number one. We got there's me, and there's Clearwater, Costello, Rick Fair, and we're ranked number one, and we go on win the NCAA without Clampett. It was a Cinderella story. Then later on that year, I win the Canadian Amateur, go to the qualifying school, and I get my card, and I'm going, holy crap, this has happened pretty damn fast. And and I feel lucky. I made it right on the number, and next thing you know, I'm on the final year of Monday qualifying on the PGA Tour.
Dick Zokol is my guest. He is a winner on the PGA Tour, a BC, British Columbia resident, and a recent author of Zokology. So we're talking about our college experience. And Zok, when you try to give people a glimpse at what college life and college golf was back then, there's no guy named Tiger Woods that's come out, and nobody really seemed to care all that much compared to nowadays. But for us, and we competed all the time together, it was really something special for someone like me to get thrown in, to get to play with guys like you. Bobby Clampett, I got paired with Bobby Clampett the final round of my first tournament ever out at the University of New Mexico, South Course in New Mexico, in Albuquerque. And Zoke, I shook hands with Bobby on the first tee. I never saw him again. I hit everything so far left into those dudes. And he went on and shot 65 the last day. He won the tournament by, I think, 7. And I think 3 was the last day. And I'm like, what am I doing out? I'll never be that good.
And that University of New Mexico golf course in Albuquerque that we played in, the Tucker, right? It was called the Tucker Invitational.
Tucker Invitational, sure.
Like, it was a tough golf course for us. I mean, I couldn't break 74 on that golf course. And Clampett was shooting 62, 63. His first 3 tournaments our freshman year, he wins them. And then he wins the All-American, the tournament down in Houston with only, you got to be an All-American on the team. And he wins that. He should have won the Haskins Award that year. And Lindy Miller from Oklahoma State won it. But Clampett was clearly the best player. And then he wins the Haskins his sophomore year, wins the Haskins again his junior. Then he turns pro. And so, but, it used to frustrate me to know it. I'm either this scrawny little guy, and and I'm a competitor. You're a competitor, or else you would we're survivors. We're gonna, you had Corey Pavin. I mean, Christ, he was such a strong player as well. And so
Corey Pavin was 5'7". I weighed more than Corey Pavin did when I was in 4th grade. I remember, we're going to get our uniforms, and they said, what's your waist size? And he goes 26. And I go,
what? I know.
I had that in 5th grade. Let's go. But the guy could just, my senior year in high school, Corey won 8 times. Yeah. And was a college player of the year.
Oh yeah. Corey, I mean, the tenacity in him. I mean, he is living proof of what your mind can do in spite your
Yes.
physical ability. I mean, he was tough as tough can be. He had to
Yeah.
be like, and for him to win the U.S. Open, and you just look at his belief system, and like this is what the difference is. And quite frankly, I don't think there's only a few people that is in the history of the game that has had a Corey Pavin mind.
Oh no, I
You
totally
know,
agree with you. He was as strong as it could be. He played with such gusto and
yeah.
played on the golf course with such bravado that was odd because I got to know him, Zoke, and he didn't live the rest of his life like that. And I was like, wow, how do you step on the golf course and become this stud
Yeah.
when you're 130 pounds, you're 5'6", and you're really kind of not that coordinated?
Yeah, a kind of a goofy swing, but boy, he could get it done. He was
100%.
remarkable.
Oh, my
So
hat's off.
then I get on the PGA Tour, and then so I kind of had this Cinderella story, Jay, and then I get on the PGA Tour. I'm on the Monday qualifying, and I'm out there, and I don't feel like I belong. I feel like my Cinderella story just turned into a bloody nightmare, and this whole year of anxiety, and I don't feel like I belong, and I made one cut for the first 5.5 months. I can't sleep Sunday nights because I know that Monday qualifying means I'm going to lose my mind, and my mind is racing like crazy. And
Right.
then and you remember the story in my rookie year when I put on those headphones? Do you remember that?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Just the best. I
So,
can't wait to
so,
talk
so,
about it.
so this is the story. So I'm by myself and on the tour, and I'm playing so poorly, and I'm not getting into qualifying. And when I qualify for a tournament, I'm not making the cut, and I'm bouncing back to the Monday qualifying. And one of the things that I've had is tenacity, and the natural thing that I had, that no matter what happened yesterday, today's a fresh day. I feel motivated to try and I don't dwell on it. I don't look back and relive those anxieties. So every day was important. So I said I gotta figure something out. The reason why I'm playing so poorly and not playing well is I've got a lot of mind chatter. I gotta do this. I've got to do that. I push for this. And you gotta say all this bullshit. Like think positively. That's baloney. You to have to perform, you just got to get some traction and do that. And I said, well, I can't. I'm having this difficult time because my mind is it's mind
Active.
chatter
It's
is just racing and active and hyperactive. And I said, you
yes.
need to relax. Well, how do I do that? So I'm having this conversation with myself, and I finally answered the question. I said, what do you need to calm down? I said, listen to music. Music calms me down. I've got this
Yeah.
thing that I enjoy called the Walkman. So I said, why don't you listen to music? This is the conversation I'm having with myself the night. And so I said, okay. So the night before Milwaukee, and I'm kind of getting nervous, and I'm going, geez, I don't know about this. What if I, play crappy? People are going to
Yeah.
think. What are my peers going to think? I'm starting to talk myself out of, and I talked myself out of it in the Monday qualifying for the Western Open the week before Milwaukee. Let me back up a week. And I shoot 80, in the qualifying, and I'm so pissed off with myself, not for failing. I have no problem failing. I have a problem being a chicken and afraid and not standing up. So that's what I dog cussed myself out. So I said, I'm going to do this in Milwaukee. So I'm paired with Larry Rinker and Ronnie Black. We tee off tuck away on the 10th tee on early Thursday morning. And I got this headphones in my golf bag, and I say, and I wait till we get, that 100-yard walk down the hill at tuckaway number 10, get to the fairway, and Ronnie's in front of me, Larry's in front of me. I go, hell with this. I put the headphones on. I've got Hotel California just jamming, and I slap it
The
on,
Eagles, baby. Glenn
and
Fry.
I love them. And Larry Rinker goes, look at Disco Dick. And I'm just like in a world of bliss. And I start playing well. I'm 1 under, 2 under, 3 under, 4, 5 under par. And I'm in my own little world, Jay. If I come to my shot, I take my headphones off, assess my shot, go through my routine, hit the shot. And before that ball's landing, I got the headphones back on my head.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
am in a world of bliss. I'm coming down the last hole, my 18th hole. I'm 7 under par, leading the tournament, and I finished, signed for 65. I'm leading the tournament, and I'm going, that's the easiest 65 I've ever shot in my life. It was so simple. And I'm going, wow. So the Wade Cagle is there, and he goes, Richard, come with me. I'm in the scoring tent. He goes, what the hell are you listening to? And I said, music. He goes, are you listening to any golf lessons out there? I said, no, because you know that I'd be disqualified. I'm going, holy crap, what's going to happen here? So I said, no, just music. They got to call PGA Boatwright at the USGA to see if this is legal. And I'm going, oh shit, I'm going to get disqualified. So anyway, they say no, nothing against the rules. You can't listen to music. So it stands. I'm tied for the lead of the tournament. And now I go into the media. Next day, Disco Dick leads open. So it's, and I never listened to it. I was always Led Zeppelin, Eagles, Rolling Stones, the Beatles. I love it. I mean, it should have been, Jay, it should have been Rockin' Richard, not Disco Dick.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I know.
So then I'm going, so this all of a sudden, now it starts. I've got the lead. Now it creates a new sensation and expectations. What am I going to do in the next round? It's round 2. So I'm kind of going, this is all brand new to me. I never tried this in a practice round. I never asked any person to do it. I just did it. So the second round, expectations, this goofy guy from Canada is wearing the headphones, and there's a lot of attention to that. So we tee off the first tee in the afternoon wave at Tuckaway. The second round, I slap my headphones on, and I've got Led Zeppelin playing, and they're playing. All I care about is the long version of Stairway to Heaven.
You're right.
And I'm going, oh my God, Jay, it just put me right in the bubble and blocked everything out. I shoot 69 or whatever, got the lead again after the second round. I've got the lead in the third round, and I've got the lead. I'm still tied for the lead with 4 holes to go. And then I break my bubble here because I'm thinking I can win this thing. I project forward to a result, which we all know is like, I didn't know at the time, but that's a collapser right there. I had no idea. Right. So I finished bogey, double bogey, bogey, finished 5th. So the big important thing there is that what did this the only different thing I did was listen to music. And I went, wow, this game is all psychological at this level from this point forward. So I wore the headphones for a while and got used to kind of smelling the flowers between the shots, and took those training wheels off. I did it for about a year, and then I left it alone. But at that point, that's when I dove into sports psychology. Nelford and I, the following year, brought some sports psychologists out, and I just dove into it. And had my struggles on the tour, had some successes, and then everything turned into, kind of how this whole mental perception is in golf. That in my 20 years, that's where I dove into it. And I said, this is the difference maker in the game.
Dick Zokol is my guest. We are coming to you from the Car Shield Studios, and we are presented by the Stifel Charity Classic. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more from Dick Zokol.
This is Jay Delsing, author of the new golf book, You Wouldn't Believe Me If I Told You. It's an unforgettable memoir of golf, grit, and a blue-collar kid on the PGA Tour. Get yours at jdelsinggolf.com. That's jdelsinggolf.com.
Hey, welcome back. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm your host, Jay, coming to you from the Car Shield Studios, presented by the Stifel Charity Classic. I am with my good friend, Zoke. I don't even want to go back and figure out how old we are and how long we've known each other. We're just going to say a hell of a long time, but we got to talk a little bit about your book. I love what you talked about in the first segment, where you put these headphones on and it basically introduced you to this entirely new world about your mindset, about sports psychology. One of my favorite quotes from your book is, change your perspective, not your swing. And Zoke, we are in a modern day era where everybody wants this pretty swing. And all I want is an effective swing. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and I think that the whole purpose of the title of my book, Zokology, change your perspective, not your swing. And then underneath it is how I competed and won on the PGA Tour by changing the way I thought. So and I worked hard on my golf swing like everyone else. And I think we all know, anyone who has played a lick in this game knows that if they're thinking about they're playing golf swing on the golf course, they're in trouble. And we forget how to play. And I, through my whole life, in my rookie year, I remember, because I went to school or roomed with Bobby Clampett, and he was a golfing machine guy. I got to know Ben Doyle, who was the first certified golfing machine guy. I remember my rookie year, I went and took a lesson from Ben Doyle when I missed the Monday qualifying at Pebble Beach, and so I had this meeting with Ben Doyle. Ben Doyle, I don't know if you know him, Jay, knew him. Wonderful guy, great gentleman, very serious about the game and the complexity of the golfing machine. And so I go get a lesson with him, and to me he's talking wah, wah, wah. I can't understand a word he's saying. It's like speaking Greek to me, and I am going, how in the hell can I play with these mechanics? And I said that was the first and last time I ever took a lesson from an instructor type of thing in the golfing machine. And I said, I need, if I'm going to get some instruction, I need someone who's been in the trenches before. And, I just don't want to work on mechanics. And so that was an important aspect. One thing I do want to chat to, I'm going to throw a question at you. You're rookie. Do you remember a guy by the name of Jim King out there from Florida?
Oh yeah. Scarier than
rough guy. Scary. Did you? So I want to talk about this because I was speaking to Lee Trevino about this. I had a run-in with him at Inverary in my rookie year, and I talk about it in the book. I don't know if you got to that part yet, but Jim King was considered a collector for the mob down in he was a leg breaker.
He was a badass.
He was a scary guy. Yeah. So I have this run-in with him, and it's on the Monday qualifying. Sorry, I'm playing a practice round on the Sunday at Inverary Country Club for the Monday qualifying the next day for the Honda Classic. And so on Sunday I get out there and with my caddy, and the pro shop says, yeah, you can tee off in the afternoon. And he said, yeah, tee off the 10th tee. Just me and my caddy. We go head down the 10th tee. And I'm on the putting green, Jay, and we hear, and my caddy says, "Oh my God, there's a player coming up behind us." He goes, "That's Jim King," and I go, "Who the hell's Jim King?" I don't know. He said,
Jim King. I didn't know him from Adam.
You don't want to have anything to do with this guy. This guy's he happened to be in the 100. He fought in the Korean War. He was a football player. He was a boxer.
People in their lockers, Zoke. All of those stories.
He stuffed John Lister from New Zealand in a locker. And then there was if you Google Jim King, you're going to get a New York article that in 1973, I think it was in Pleasant Valley, Pete Sesso, PGA Tour official, gave him a 2-stroke penalty for slow play. Well, Jim King grabbed him by the throat and picked him up off the ground. And they kicked him off. Like, you will find this New York article. You Google Jim King golf, and it will come up. Anyway. He's a rough guy, and so I bugger off and go up, and I'm walking, playing fast, and I'm on the 12th green, and at 12th green in Inverary, there's a big mound. You can't see the green or the water. It's a par 5 you can drive into. I'm putting on the putting green, and from the second shot area, you can't see where it's coming. So I hear this douche in the water. Second ball, douche in the water. And so that's Jim King coming up behind me, and I'm buggering off it. He's playing faster. And I'm walking off the green, and he's walking on the green, and he yells at me. He goes, "Hey kid!" I put my head down, and I'm walking, trying to pick up speed. He yells louder. He goes, "Hey kid!" And I turn around. He goes, "Come here." So I go, I'm nervous as hell.
I don't want to.
That's what I was saying. I'm scared. The life is being scared right out of me here. And I walk up. He goes, "Give me my golf balls." And I go, "They're in the pond." He goes, "You threw my balls in the pond?" And I go, "Oh no, where is this going?"
Here we go.
And I'm going, I don't know if he's going to drop me. He goes, "Give me my effing balls." and I am scared to death. I'm in fight, flight, freeze response. I muster up the courage, and I go, I don't have your effing balls. They're in the pond. You hit them there. And he hits me, and he sees how frightened I am, but I'm standing up to him. He hits me on the shoulder. He goes, "That's okay, kid. Forget about it." He says, "You're okay. You're okay." And I'm coming out of there going, "Oh my God, I survived this situation." And I told this story to Trevino. And I called Trevino just before I published the book. I wanted to get this story straight. So I'm talking to Trevino, calls me back, and I said, hey, Lee, tell me what you can say about the Jim King story that you had, because we exchanged Jim King stories. He says, "Yeah, Jim King. Yeah, I remember that." He goes, "This is Lee Trevino, word for word." He goes, "Yeah, in 1967, I finished 47th on the money list." He says, "That makes me an exempt player for 1968. At this time, Trevino's brand new in the tour. Nobody knows who he is, so he says, I'm at Doral in 1968. And I get this knock at the door. And he goes, back in those days, this is Trevino's saying, he says, back in those days, I used to travel with a pistol, a 38 revolver. He says, it was in my golf bag. And every night it sat on my nightstand by the telephone and the light on my bed. He says, I traveled with it everywhere. And so he says he gets this knock at the door, and he opens the door, and it's Jim King. And he says he's this big son of a gun. He's got this big block head. And King says to him, "Hey, I hear you're pretty good." And Trevino, who's a street smart, savvy guy himself, he picks up, there's no threat here. He goes, "Come on in, let's chat." So Jim King comes into his room at Doral, takes a seat on the edge of the bed, and he's looking around like this. And Trevino tells me, he says, and he notices the pistol Trevino says he notices my pistol on the nightstand. And Jim King says to Trevino, "Is that yours?" Trevino goes, "Yes, that's mine." He goes, "What do you need that for?" And Trevino goes, "In case I get in a jam with a guy like you, this is my equalizer." And I go, "Oh my God." And then that's what Trevino's. And then Trevino then says, "Jim King became my bodyguard." And I had no idea. He says, I got along with Jim King. So I guess if there were some issues that Lee Trevino had, he had Jim King to help him out. And then Trevino goes on. There's another story about, do you remember a guy named Cesar Sanudo that was out there?
Oh, for sure.
So Cesar is a Mexican guy, buddy of Trevino. Trevino's telling me this story. He said, Sanudo and King are playing in a Monday qualifying. King hits it out of bounds. It's out of bounds by a couple of feet. And Sanudo's got his card, and Sanudo says, "Yeah, it looks like your ball's out of bounds." And Jim King gets down behind one of these, the OB stake, and gets down on his knee, and he looks at the angle like this to the other OB stake, and he goes, "Hey, Sanudo," says, "get over here. From this angle, it looks like the ball's touching the line." So Sanudo comes over, and he gets down beside him like this. And before Sanudo can say anything, Jim King just gives him this elbow right in the ribs. Trevino says he broke his ribs, and he goes rolling over and over and over in severe pain. And Sanudo pops up. He goes, "Yeah, I think the ball's touching the line too." So the fascinating thing about the book is I was able to, not only put in my memoirs and my successes and my failures, I really point the microscopic point at myself as well of how my bad thoughts were and how the wall started to creep in, and I was getting depressed out there. Mental health, the story of Watson, drinking up, finding these stories later on, how they dealt with, their psychologist was, Dr. Jack Daniels. That's what psychology golf was back in those days. So,
I didn't
the ups
know
and
Jack
downs.
Daniels is a doctor, did you?
well, either that or Wild Turkey, Dr. Wild Turkey,
Right,
the same thing.
Right, Jim
So
Beam, maybe.
Jim Beam, exactly. So he was a psychologist to a lot of golfers back in the day.
Yep.
So the stories are prevalent in there. There's, running around, enjoying the single life, on the tour with Jim Nelford type of thing was enjoyable, and lots of stories in there. And then basically how I figured out kind of how to put together a perspective on how to access the present moment, and had some real great successes in when I was, on the latter part of my years on tour.
Yeah. Dick Zokol is my guest. We are coming to you from the Car Shield Studios. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. So the book, Zokology, Change Your Perspective, Not Your Golf Swing. You've got some really phenomenal chapters in there. You've got Mo Norman. You've got your somewhere along the line tonight we got to talk about Nellie's boat accident.
Yeah.
And also the practical joke with Jack Nicklaus. I don't know where you want to start, but feel free to jump into any one of those.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Let's start with Jack. I think it was later. I just got off it was the start of the year, my first term of the year after getting my tour card back through qualifying school. So I'm happy. I'm back on tour. I survived the pressure cooker, and Nelford and I would always go play Cypress Point on the Monday of Pebble Beach. We'd always zip out there and just get on Cypress Point. So we did that, and we're out there, and Jack pulls up and he's with Howard Clark. Howard Clark's from England. He's playing and Howard Clark, I got to know him in the Dunhill Cups at St. Andrews. He was a player for England. He was a Ryder Cup player as well. So he's playing with Jack in a practice round. This is Howard's first practice round or first PGA Tour event. Foggy day, and the fog can come in there, and the fog would, you'd watch your tee shot go 50 yards and it's in the fog, but it's special. You're not going to stop playing Cypress Point. So I'm in a giddy mood, and by the time we get to 16, I see a situation where the fog bank rolled in on the 16th, one of the most famous par threes in the world. And I'm going, okay, guys, we when we played the hole, I said, look, I'm going to play a practical joke on Jack. They can't see the green, and because the fog bank is in there, and the gallery following them are staying with them. They're not coming up to the green because they can't see, so they're staying with them. I said, I'm going to stand on the green on 16. You go occupy the marshal down by the tree is mine, so he doesn't see me what I'm doing. And when Jack hits his ball on the green, I'm going to put it in the hole, and I'm going to run like hell down the 17th fairway. And we're going to play this practical joke on Jack. So Nelford and Clay Edwards, my instructor, he was with me, and they say, okay, so I'm standing on the green. I'm waiting what seems like forever, and there's no ball on the green. And then finally a ball lands on the green. And it's a tour edition, so I know it's Howard Clark's ball. He's a Spalding guy. Jack played McGregor. So I said, I can't wait anymore. So I grabbed Howard Clark's ball, put it in a hole, ran like hell down the 17th green. Down the 17th fairway. So we're on the green, and we hear this roar when they discover this ball in the hole. And now we're getting nervous because the reality is setting in here, and we're playing a practical joke on one of the most famous, sacred golf holes in the world. So we leave a note, and I leave a note on the tee and said, Howard, welcome to the tour. Nice ace, not signed the crazy Canucks. So we come up to the 18th. They come up. We finish the 18th green. They come up, and Howard comes up. He goes, I didn't make a 1 on 16, did I? said, no, you didn't. So, but it was our practical joke. And then Jack comes up and goes, well, how are we going to deal with our $50 match if you didn't make a hole in 1? So, and then the next day, in the first round playing and I was nervous because, you start screwing around with Jack, you're not sure or unsure if how well this is going to go over.
To go any which way.
And so in the first round, and I'm putting on the green, Jack's on the green, he puts his ball over to me and says, Richard, he says, yeah, that was pretty good. He speaks at the Golf Writers Association every year at Pebble Beach. He says, I told the story. He says, that was a good one. So I was just delighted the fact that he liked the practical joke. Anyway, that was one of the stories. So, yeah, and we all know the Jim Nelford story. 1984, I'm rooming with Jim and at Pebble, and Jim was playing really well for the past year. He's on the verge of winning. He's leading the cut streak on the PGA Tour, and I'm playing like crap, still trying to get stable on my legs out on tour. And we're playing at Pebble. I made the cut, and Jim's playing good. And sorry, I'm mixing up my Jim. I'm talking about the '84 Pebble Beach story. The Hale Irwin story. Sorry. Story in there, and so anyway, that's yeah. So let's jump. let's continue with that one. So Jim doesn't, gets in. Hale Irwin hooks the ball into the water. It's low tide, hits a rock, it comes out, and he gets into a sudden death playoff. And Hale Irwin hits a 2-iron out of that bunker that's only 150 yards off the tee on 16.
He skied his 4-wood off the tee of the 16th and had a 200 yards plus into that green.
And he almost holds it. He denies Nelford this victory, which still haunts Jim today, which is really unfortunate because Jim has never won that. Anyway, back to the boating accident that happened.
So let's take a real quick break. We'll talk about
Please
Jim
do.
Nelford. Yeah, we'll take a really quick break. This is Golf with Jay Delsing. We'll be right back with more from Dick Zokol. A golfing experience of a lifetime. Custom golf trips with me, Jay Delsing. I played on the PGA Tour for over 25 years and had the pleasure of playing the greatest courses in America, and now you can too. Experience courses like Pebble Beach, Wingfoot, Whistling Straits, and many more. Packages include meals, drinks, daily lessons, and tips from me, and much, much more. Book your experience now and email me, jay@jdelsinggolf.com. The golf course is waiting. Hey, welcome back to Golf with Jay Delsing. I'm your host, Jay. We are coming to you from the Car Shield Studios. We are presented by the Stifel Charity Classic. I'm visiting with my buddy Dick Zokol, Richard Zokol. He is a PGA Tour winner, a BC native, and we are talking about our good buddy Jim Nelford. And unfortunately, Zok, tell us a little bit about the inside scoop on Nellie's boating accident.
Yeah, Jim and I were best friends out there. I was his wingman more often than not when we went out. And in the earlier years on the PGA Tour, before I got married, we had a lot of fun. Jim was a very close friend of mine. We're together a lot out on tour, and he helped me out and put me under his wing and helped me out. So in 1984, I believe it was, he's water skiing, gets into a motor. Tangles with the motor, the propeller on the boat. The boat was coming to pick him up after he fell on water skiing, and the life preserver kept him buoyant. He's trying to go under, and this boat's coming at him, and he tangles with the propeller, and it rips up his arm and his leg and his back, and he's in critical condition. And the thing was, where his life was in peril was the amount of tissue damage the propeller caused him, and the pollution in the lake, and the infection that they were concerned with. They thought they were going to have to take his arm, but first things first, he had to survive. And he just,
so there was a problem where we didn't even know at the time if he was going to survive this. Forget golf, forget his career. We didn't know if his life was going to be safe.
Exactly. So we go to see him in the hospital, and the doctor says, his life is going to hinge on how well he absorbs these antibiotics to fight infection. The doctors, were really concerned. Lake Saguaro outside of Scottsdale, or wherever in Phoenix, is a very polluted lake, and that's always a concern with them. And then I remember, Jay, Joni and I we started dating at that time, and we went and saw him in the hospital, and I looked at him, and we held each other, and we just cried. And he just said to me, he says, "They're gonna take my arm. Don't let them take my arm, and tell my parents, don't let them take my arm," because he was all drugged up and in a real bad place. And so he survived it, and they didn't take his arm, but they could have, and they put him back together. And then, a couple years later, but he went back to the qualifying school, and he got his card back.
I know it.
The amazing thing about it, he got his card back. And you remember his swing after his boating accident. It didn't look really efficient, did it?
No. It wasn't powerful at all. He had lost so much of his strength.
Yeah. So unfortunately, fortunately got back to the PGA Tour, but it didn't last long, and then he became a teacher. But there's Mo Norman stories, Mo Norman at Bay Hill. There's a story in there. I was hitting it like crap, and I was asking Mo to help me, and he said, "This guy will help you. This guy will help you. This guy will help you." And he's referring to this guy I didn't know. I didn't want another golf lesson from another pro. Anyway, this guy turned out to be, his name is Clay Edwards. And I'm going, oh no, this is going to be just like the Ben Doyle lesson. I don't want to hear this stuff. And I couldn't say no to the guy. So we go. Now this is a fascinating thing, Jay. We're at Bay Hill, hitting balls. This is after the first round. I shoot 78 the first round, and I'm playing like crap. So this guy, do you remember Clay Edwards? Remember he'd come out there and teach?
I remember the name, yes, for sure.
So Clay, he's got this Southern drawl, this Texas drawl, and he's watching me hit balls. Doesn't say a word. I'm hitting about 5 balls, and I say, "What do you think?" And this is what he says to me, Jay. And I said, he says, on your next shot, I want you to feel the stress of the shaft, the compression of the golf ball down the line as long as you can. And I went, I know exactly what he means. He goes, I want you to stress the shaft, compress the ball down the line as long as that. So I got my 3-iron, and I just, with those thoughts in my mind, I hit the most perfect 3-iron. The flight of the ball, those are Balata golf balls. The 3-iron went higher than I'd ever went, and it landed softer. And I went, oh my God. And so he started to, say these sayings to me. And then I shoot 68 the next day. So, and then he says to me, he's got to go back to Houston. He's a head pro at Victoria Golf Club in Victoria, Texas. And Clay says, if you really want to learn to play golf, he said, come and spend a week with me at my home in Victoria, Texas. I'll fix your game. So I did that a couple of weeks later, and then from that point on, I started tasting some success on tour, and it really made a difference. But that story is in the book, and how Mo Norman helped me out in a big way. And to this day, Clay Edwards was, my coach my whole life. He was one of the best men at my wedding, and he's like a brother. And we went through the trenches together as a coach player together our whole lives. So there's that story in there as well.
I love that. Dick Zokol is my guest. And so when you wrote the book, it's clear to me, at least in my opinion, why you wrote it. But we're in this era now where we've got all these guys that want to make pretty golf swings, and everybody's got to swing the same. And I mean, I'm 6'5", and you're a lot shorter than I am, and our body types are different. And that never meant anything to us back in the day. But tell me why you really wrote the book. The stories are wonderful. The anecdotes are great. Their life lessons are terrific. But what is the real reason you wrote the book?
The real reason I wrote the book is I just had enough of all this golf swing stuff. I stood in front of a bunch of young players. So I was standing in front. I took this concept called Mind Track Golf to Golf Canada. Golf Canada has a young pro squad. Yep. And I said, I've got this app that I'm using, and it's really important. It's in the objectives of your trying to develop these young pros. And they said, okay, let's do this. Let's give it a beta test. So it was Taylor Pendrith, Jared Dutoit, and Hugo Bernard. These 3 young
I
professionals.
love Taylor Pendrith. I got to play with him a while back, and I'm still a big fan. Love that kid.
He's a great person. So here's the story on this. So Taylor Pendrith is there, and he was given the unfortunate position in Canada to be the next Mike Weir, right? The expectations and pressure that's
the kid's neck.
Exactly. So, and I get in front of these guys, and I'm about to teach them this lesson, and I say to them, I said, look, all you guys are good. It's not about your golf swing. Your golf swing isn't going to determine whether I said, what's going to determine whether you succeed, get to the PGA Tour and succeed on the PGA Tour has got nothing to do with really your swing. It's got everything to do with your mind. I said, there's all kinds of examples out there. So when you chase golf swing, you're chasing your tail. And you need to, hear the term, stop playing golf swing, start playing golf. So I have this methodology, and I have this app called Mind Track Golf. And I said, your focus is, it says, I need you to have a pre-shot routine and a shot routine. And I said, Your pre-shot routine is that time when you get to your golf ball and you do your yardage, you do your distance, you do your lie, and it's going to lead to some decision making. Are you going to hit a cut? You're going to hit a hook? Are you going to lay up? All these decisions making, and you're going to have to do this successfully. And then once you make your decisions up, then you need to commit to it. Then the next thing is in the execution is the performance. You must perform. Commitment and performance are not the same thing. They connect each other, but you just because you're committed to a shot doesn't mean you're going to make a great execution. So you've got to think of that. And then, so in your routine, your job is to focus on your two key performance markers. That's your assessment, getting the information, and then your execution, not the result. Is how well you execute it. Because what happens when we get consumed and conditioned to the result, the extrinsic result, we want the shot before we hit it. That's a projection into the future, and it stimulates anxiety. You have these expectations, and this system trains you to detach emotionally from extrinsic results, like what it may mean. Am I going to feel embarrassed? Are they going to, some people, are you going to feel embarrassed? All those things that cause pressure. So I tell these guys how to use this. They download the app from the App Store, and Taylor Pendrith goes on a run. Now, keep in mind, at this time, Taylor Pendrith just got knocked off the Corn Ferry Tour back down to the Canadian Tour, and he's playing like crap.
Right.
So Taylor gets this program, and he takes to it like a fish in water. His next 7 weeks in a row go like this. He goes T48, T16, third, fifth, fourth, win, miscut. Then he wins for his second time by 8 shots. So he finishes second on the Canadian Tour and he goes up to the Corn Ferry Tour. And then that year he's doing the same thing, and he has success, finishes second on the Corn Ferry Tour, and then COVID hits. The Corn Ferry Tour has to join its second year, so he comes out thereafter, gets on the PGA Tour. He gets picked by Trevor Immelman to make the international squad. Then another year later, so he sustains this. He wins his first tournament, and then he just sustains this period over into the next 5 years. But basically, it helped him free himself up from our mind clutter of having. If you have expectations, you should have zero expectations, and focus in on your two key performance markers. So I created this, Jay, in 2000 when I was on the Corn Ferry Tour, 42 years old, trying to get back on the PGA Tour. And I had this discovery that I said, it's all about execution, execution, execution. Until the day I made this perfect execution of the shot, I could not hit it any better, and it plugged under the lip of the bunker. And I said, right, as good as I can hit it, but my assessment, my club didn't hear it. So when you hear a player say it's all about execution, execution, it's not just execution. That's 50% of it. The other 50% is the proper assessment, like the line, the pace on how you read a green is your assessment. You have to combine those two. So after every round in 2000, I'm on the Corn Ferry Tour, and I create this program. It's the intellectual property of what is now in the app, or our prototype. And so I go back to my room, and I'm putting an evaluation on both of these two key performance markers: excellent, satisfactory, unsatisfactory. And that's also excellent, for the assessment and the execution. So the idea is to condition myself to focus on my two key performance markers and detach emotionally from the results. So I'm getting good at this. So I get to the U.S. Open, and I'm playing really well at the time, and I'm not even on the tours. I qualify for the U.S. Open at Pebble at 2000. So, Jay, I go out there, I shoot 74, make the cut. 80, I walk into a meat grind. I shoot 80 on the third round and walk into a meat grinder. And then the final round, Sunday, Tiger's doing his thing. And I'm kind of going, look, it's Pebble Beach. It's the U.S. Open. Tiger's doing his thing. Jay, I go out there on the front nine. I shoot 30 on the front nine. Wow. It's a U.S. Open record. And I don't know how and now I'm right in the middle of my mindset. I don't care about my my score. I don't even know how deep under par I am, but I know I'm playing well, and all I care about is this key performance marker on every shot, my assessment and my execution. It really simplifies the game. So I shoot 30 on the front nine. My caddy says to me, "Do you know?" And this is the aha moment. And he goes, "Do you know what you shot?" And now typically, you know exactly what's going through your mind.
Course.
It's like, but that didn't happen. And that was the aha moment. So I say to him, "No, I don't know what I shot." He goes, "You shot 30. And I thought about it. And I said to him, "I still don't care about it. It didn't change my mind." I call that thought shearing, like wind shear on a plane. If the wind stops, it crashes. And I shot 69 that day. There was only a couple of rounds in the 60s. The course was playing so tough. But that was my aha moment. So that was the impetus of what is now, we productized it, put it into an app. We built it out. I raised some money, got this app built for $350,000. This is all pre-COVID. We beta tested it, and we're going to launch this this Mind Track app. And then the company as a startup, I learned the story of if you're doing a startup company, don't ever run out of cash. We ran out of cash, and right after our prototype with Golf Canada, we weren't able to raise any more money. But now with AI, we're raising the money, we're rebooting this thing, and we're relaunching. And this is the real trick because this big, massive, gaping hole in the psychological side of performance. Now, you look at these young kids, you look at this Justin Koiven, who looks so impressive mentally too. But the key thing that happens. Clampett went through it. Spieth is going through it. All these guys are the golfer's mind, in a young mind. The prefrontal cortex hasn't been developed yet. It doesn't develop, and this is where decision making, emotional stability is very important. And it's important to get on track. So when you develop this, and it doesn't stop maturing until you're 25. Girls do it earlier. Their brain develops a lot earlier. And some guys are a little late and they come in. And so whatever mindset that you establish and you conform to. So it's really important to, if you want to access this present moment, you need a protocol. You need a system, a new performance measurement system, because if the result, you get all golfers, if you're left to your own devices in order to, your performance markers, you're going to default to results. You're going to go to results. Now it's insanity. Results matter because they determine whether you win or lose. But the extrinsic results, the meaning of it, like if I win a PGA Tour event, it doesn't make me a better or worse golfer than someone who doesn't, type of thing. And people
or a
that
better
think
or
that
worse human being.
Exactly, you're not a better person if you shoot 64 than you are when you shoot 77. That type of thing, and that's dysfunctional thinking, and it causes anxiety. Look at the expectations on Jordan Spieth right now on short putts. He doesn't have a problem on 25-foot putts because his expectations aren't pushing him. But on a 4-foot putt, his expectations are causing him to have a threat, and that threat causes fear. And you're worried about perhaps what other people may think, and you can go down these rabbit holes. And when here's another thing. In 2001, I get back to the PGA Tour. In 2002, I finished 13th on the money list. And in the book, I tell about how I changed my putting. And you know what kind of putter I was on tour. I was average, perhaps. Everyone, when they putt good. So in 2002, in the system on the PGA Tour that I have, I explain how I made some small mechanical changes, but I learned to detach from the result. Like I wasn't trying to make the putt. I was trying to assess and execute the shot as best I could. So statistics on 2002 PGA Tour stats on all putts between 10 and 15 feet, I was the number one player. I had a conversion rate of 53.23% of conversions on my on putts, and that were 53 rounds of golf.
Wow.
And I was eight points ahead of second place, percentage points. And basically what I was doing is just I stopped trying to make putts. I
Right.
put all my attention on my assessment and then the execution, and I graded myself. And when that became my condition response, Jay, that's what pulled me into the present moment. And I learned, because if you know what it's like, if you're over a putt saying, I gotta make this putt, you're
You
not going to
never
make it. You'll
No.
never make it. You'll drive yourself into what I call golf insanity doing that.
Zoke, this is about processes. This is getting into
Yes.
those, locking into going, I need to commit. I need to execute, but I need to detach, like you said, from those results so that you can get yourself in the best state of mind
Present moment.
to help you relax. Look, if you didn't have any talent, you and I would both say to you, hey, buddy, try your ass off.
That's
You
right.
need to try your ass off. But if you've got talent, we've got to get you in the state of mind that gives you the best opportunity to make this putt, which is
That's
relaxed.
right.
Mike Jordan didn't sit at the free throw line being stressed out. He was relaxed. He spun the ball. He did his pre-shot routine, and then off it went.
Exactly.
It was like just what he did when he was a kid in a schoolyard.
Exactly. That's right. That's exactly right. And that's so that mental gap is what I believe is the next level learning experience. There hasn't been they've been touching around the rim of this thing, bouncing around the rim, but they haven't really connected the dots already. Yes, you have to be present, but the thing is I tried to will myself in the present moment. You can't do it. You need a protocol. You need a system in order to follow that you do, that the byproduct of it pulls you into the present moment, like what the music did to me. It got that mind chatter away. So, but if you have to have a system, and if you can condition yourself to the intrinsic results of assessing and executing, it's the same what Pia Nielsen does at
54.
54 is the think box. That's the assessment. The hit box is the execution, and then you collect the data and look at which key performance marker caused that shot gained event, or that shot lost event, or a shot saved event. This is which would be, you got to drill down into the minutia. You don't just go, I hit a bad shot, and well, why did you hit a bad shot? Was it your assessment? Did you have the wrong club? Was it your execution?
Brutal honesty. It takes brutal honesty and a level of honesty that, for my estimation, but most people don't have. They want to blame exterior circumstances. Oh, the birds were chirping too loud. The wind was blowing. My shoes are too tight. I don't like my clothes. Whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, and for those aspiring players that want to break through that, I mean, this is the struggles that this guy named, Rory McIlroy, had for 10 years. The expectations to win another major, and particularly the Masters, because what it meant to him. Well, it just made him a lot more. He was really tight at the Masters and the majors.
Right.
He was winning all the best tournaments in the world other than that, and then he finally pierced that veil and got on the other side of it. But man, he struggled with. You got a guy like Scottie Scheffler, who inherently doesn't believe he's a better person because he wins more tournaments than anyone else. He's the same guy he was when he was 18, I bet you. And he comes from a good family that taught him that he's not a better person just because he's a good golfer.
Golf is what he does. Golf is not who he is. And
exactly
the deciphering figure. So, man, I so appreciate your time. Congratulations on writing the book. Please tell all of our listeners and our viewers how they can get a copy, where they can buy it, how they can follow Mind Track Golf, all of the above.
So Mind Track Golf is a email address, mindtrackgolf.com. Mindtrack, Trak Golf. There's no C in golf. Mindtrack Golf. We have some videos up there. We're in the middle of restructuring the app and rebuilding it. We're going to be out in another month or two, type of thing. And the book you can get. Just do a Google search. The publisher is ECW Press in Toronto. But Amazon Books, just do a search on Amazon.
Oh, you're
Books
dealing
for-
with the cartel as well, huh?
That's
the book
right.
cartel. They're really fun to deal with, aren't they?
I
Oh
know.
my God.
But we got no other choice. It's the only game in the world.
Have you ever felt like you didn't mean anything as much as when you deal with Amazon in your book? I
No.
was like, what are you guys selling it for? Can you just at least let me
I know.
know?
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
No, that's fair enough. So Amazon Books, you can get it. Tantor Media out of New York you can get the audio side of it. If you're not a reader anymore, more people are listening to audiobooks, but
Sure.
it's a book. If they want to reach out, my email address is richard.zokol@mindtrackgolf.com. Happy to answer any questions that anyone wants to ask.
Zoke, thank you for your time. We gotta stay in better touch. It's been 30 years or whatever, but keep doing what you're doing and keep helping people with their game, and we'll revisit this, and we'll stay in touch and see what new things come about all of this cool work that you've done.
Well, I thank you very much, Jay. You're like a brother. We were in the trenches together, and we've come out in living, which I think is really important.
We got a lot of gray hair now, bro.
We do, and it's always a pleasure. I look forward to our next time to chat.